G'day guys, thanks for tuning in. Today I'd just like to briefly talk about broadheads. Chances are if you picked up a bow and you've got an ambition to hunt, you'll now be looking at selecting a broadhead to go hunting with. So there's quite a number on the market. Like a lot of archery components, there's just so much to choose from, and it's pretty hard to make a decision just based on face value. So it pays to look a bit deeper into what's available out there and settle on something that you think will meet your needs and do the job when you're in the field. In this particular clip, I'm not going to be advocating any particular styles or brands. I'm just simply presenting a number of options that are out there and available to you. Like most things, you do tend to get what you pay for, so I'd strongly recommend that you avoid the cheap imitation heads that predominantly come out of China. These are a dime a dozen on eBay and very cheap, and for that reason they can be very enticing because you don't have to pay much, but effectively in the field you'll probably find that these will fail. So it does pay to do a bit of research and look into the better quality heads that are out there and pay good money and get a quality product. Now from the get-go, chances are you've been using field points for target shooting and practice and getting yourself set up and used to your bow and getting your skills proficient. From the get-go, field points are designed for this purpose only. So shooting at targets, they're designed to basically inflict the least amount of damage on a target as possible for prolonged use of your targets. They're designed for target archery and practice only. They are not suitable for hunting, and in most areas, particularly Victoria, it's actually illegal to hunt with a field point. They will inflict minimal damage even if you make a good hit, and chances are you'll wind up just wounding an animal and it'll die a very slow, painful death, and chances of recovery are slim to none. So field points from the get-go are a no-no when it comes to hunting. You do need to get yourself some suitable broadheads. So there's four primary considerations when a manufacturer goes about designing a broadhead for the use in the field. Basically one, and a paramount one, would be durability. So design, and the head is manufactured to be durable and withstanding to its task in the field. Another is aerodynamics and how well it travels in flight. So it needs to be stable and accurate in flight when it's attached to an arrow and that arrow is sent through the air. So intrinsically that's also part of design. So durability and flight accuracy. Thirdly, the particular broadhead needs to meet a specific standard weight, whether it's 100 grain, 125, 150, 170, 185, even up to 250 grain these days. So the actual broadhead needs to be manufactured to a specific tolerance in grain weight. And fourth is very sharp, razor sharp cutting blades. So this particular characteristic of any broadhead is paramount. The blades need to be exceptionally sharp so that they can sever as many arteries and vessels on the way through an animal and wreak the most amount of damage, and in turn very quick blood loss, and that animal, providing the hit is good, should go down relatively quickly. So when you're looking at the various heads on the market, there's quite a number of designs out there that are all built around either a 2-blade design or a 3-blade design, even mechanical heads, which typically are a 2-blade design, but nowadays there's even mechanicals that are coming out that are what they call a hybrid head. So it actually has fixed cutting blades as well as mechanical blades that deploy on impact. Most broadheads that you'll find that are out there are actually supplied razor sharp or relatively razor sharp, so out of the pack they're good to go. However, there are some makes and models in 2 and 3 blade varieties, most of which are a solid head, although they're supplied with an edge profile, they're not necessarily sharp out of the pack, so they're not ready to be used in the field. These need to be sharpened, and a lot of them are made from very hard tool steel. So although this basically guarantees a strong, durable head that can be used over and over again, you will need to sharpen these heads. Now for most blokes, most people, sharpening a knife is hard enough, and sharpening it well. let alone a very small 2 or 3 blade broadhead. So although these heads are very durable and accurate, bear that in mind that you will need to sharpen them before use, and this is not for everyone. So you may, as a result, look at something that does come supplied razor sharp out of the pack. So here we have a common 2-blade variety. This particular head is a solid head mounted to a ferrule, being the centre component of the actual head itself. This 2-blade head, it's a 125 grain head. It's got quite a wide cutting diameter and very sharp out of the pack. Other options include various styles of 3-blade, solid and semi-solid broadheads. Most of these are razor sharp out of the pack, built very durable for repeated use and extremely accurate. You'll generally encounter very little reason to tune these broadheads out of your bow. In my experience, most 3-blade broadheads, particularly the non-vented variety, fly extremely well and accurately, and very little tuning is required. However, if you look at a 2-blade head, a lot of guys steer clear of 2-blade because they can tend to plane or go off course. And to counteract this, you need to tune your bow, whether it be tuning your rest or tuning your arrow makeup. This isn't the case with all setups. It's very specific to your arrow weight, your bow setup, and how well your bow is tuned. So you're not necessarily going to encounter tuning problems with a 2-blade broadhead, but in some instances you can, and you'll need to counteract for this. But again, as I said, in my experience, all 3-blade broadheads, with the exception of a few that I've tried, are extremely accurate. So the bottom line is basically do your research, look at what's out there in the market that's available, and try a few. They're not all necessarily cheap. Most broadheads in Australia are going to set you back sort of $50 for a pack of 3. Chances are the first one you pick up, if you do your research well, is going to, tick all the boxes, and that's all you need. That's all you need. But if you do find that they fly inaccurately and you're having issues tuning, then you may need to look at a different head. But essentially, you want a good, well-constructed, well-designed broadhead that flies accurately and true, meets specific grain weight that you're after, and ideally you want to match the grain weight of your broadhead to the tips that you've been practicing with. So if you're using 125 grain field points, select a 125 grade broadhead, and your arrow trajectory and your sight pins will not change because the weight of your arrow hasn't changed. And you want to select a broadhead that is razor sharp and field ready. And if it's not, in the instance of a lot of the solid 2 and 3 blade broadheads that are on the market, you need to ensure that before those broadheads are taken into the field, that they're sharpened accordingly. And ultimately, at the end of the day, when the opportunity presents, which in the case of bow hunting is, let's be honest, it's a rare opportunity that you actually get to send an arrow in anger. If a broadhead does its job once, and after that fact, when you find your arrow, if the broadhead has fallen apart or is not usable again, let's face it, it's done its job well once, and that's all that matters. If you do happen to have a solid blade broadhead, chances are it'll be fine. The integrity of the broadhead will still be intact, and you can sharpen it up and it'll be good to go again. So yeah, in a nutshell, do your research, make sure the head's durable, it flies well, the blades are super sharp, and you're good to go. Okay, thanks for tuning in, and happy shooting, guys.